What do you get when you combine simplified practice marketing, proven ROI strategy, and Van skate shoes? You get Mark Thackeray, of course. So lace up, grab your green smoothie, and get ready, because this is Dental Marketing Secrets. And this is Mark.
All right. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets podcast, where we provide actionable tips and tricks that you can take and apply immediately to grow your practice, to serve more patients, and leave a greater impact, because that is the name of the game, my friends. My name is Mark Thackeray, and as always, I am so excited to be here with you today. I have a very special guest with me, someone I've known for the past several years and have worked with on a number of different campaigns. Daniel Dudley joins me from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Daniel, how are you?
Well, I have to admit I am special. So many different ways. I'm doing pretty well and glad to be here with you, Mark.
Awesome. So glad to have you. And we're going to dive into cause marketing, and what that really is in just a second. We're going to dive into why you should consider that when you're planning out your marketing calendar, what that means, what that could mean for not only externally facing campaigns, so dealing with patients or vendor partners or anything like that, but also internally what that could look like for a team and building unity and all that. But first, let's start off with Daniel. Tell me a little bit about your background. Like, how did you get to Make-A-Wish? How did you get to this point? And then tell us what your role is at Make-A-Wish right now.
Yeah, so I worked in a completely different industry before transitioning to Make-A-Wish Utah. I worked in the banking industry, not exactly known as the charitable sector, but I had some good friends who had two children who received a wish through that organization. And I witnessed how it impacted their life and the life of their son, who struggled with some really serious medical issues. And then it turned out it was just a myriad of circumstances that came together. But it turned out that I also had a friend who was a volunteer there, and was speaking to this friend, and she asked about my career and kind of what my plans were, and she just randomly said, "You should work at Make-A-Wish." Yeah. Unsolicited advice, but it was really good advice. And that turned into a job interview, and 8 years ago, I had my first opportunity to start working there, and learned so much about the organization and continue to learn more about the organization and the population that we serve on a daily basis. So obviously I'm biased, but think the world of it. Think it's one of the best charitable brands from a marketing perspective. Absolutely. But also most impactful missions we have in our country.
Oh, so true. So true. And I mentioned this on the podcast before, but we have a daughter with stage 4 cancer, and we've been through the Make-A-Wish. It's really experience. It's not just a trip. It truly is an experience, because there's so many other things that go above and beyond the actual trip itself or the actual wish itself. So we know exactly what you're talking about and how impactful that is, and we can dive into that in a little bit. But what do you do there at Make-A-Wish right now?
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Development Officer. I work with a team of 5 people, and we're charged with assuring we have the resources to grant every wish request we receive. And resources really come down to 2 things. One is money to pay for a wish request, or 2, in-kind resources. So that can be product or services. So maybe an example that's appropriate for our audience here is 3 years ago, we had a wish kid wish for braces, invisible braces. She was something she'd been secure about her whole life, was her smile. Yeah. And then it was diagnosed with cancer, had even more things to worry about, and something she no longer wanted to be concerned with was that appearance. And humble, not vain person at all, but just something that she was insecure with. Yeah. And we worked with a local dentist office who provided that wish in kind.
That's so cool.
It was so
cool. Well, that's a hefty responsibility too. I mean, you're charged with making sure that you have all those resources to grant those wishes.
Yeah. We always joke at our offices, like, we kind of have these sales goals, right? That we're trying to hit these benchmarks to make sure we have the resources. And it's not that we won't get a bonus if we don't get there. It's that someone we can't grant as many wishes. So you do feel it. But we live in an amazing community. For us, it's about education and showing people how we can be a true partner. Yeah. And then also helping them understand the impact of their partnership and the way it changes lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I bet you've seen, tell us a little bit. What has surprised you about working with Make-A-Wish? Anything that stands out
Yeah.
that you might not have thought of before.
Yeah. No, so the first thing, there's a lot of things that stand out. The first thing, and probably most important, this is something really mission focused, not necessarily marketing focused. But that's that there's a really common misconception about our organization that we only grant wishes for kids with terminal conditions. And we grant wishes for children who have life-threatening medical conditions. Our number one referral source are medical practitioners, and they're sending their patients to us not as a last wish opportunity, but as a part of the treatment process. Their goal is that the wish provides hope that inspires the child to continue to fight and beat their medical diagnosis. So that was the number one that I learned. And that does come back to marketing a little bit, that the organizations had a hard time correcting that misconception. Yeah. Number two is the impact that a wish has on siblings and parents. Often, so many of us have seen the child in a Disney commercial, or that they get to meet their favorite celebrity, and we see the story featured on SportsCenter. But we don't understand that behind the scenes that the siblings are all a part of that process as well. And that the wish infuses hope and joy and a reason to be happy for parents. And it gives them a tool that they can talk to their children about. Yeah. I was talking to a mom a few weeks ago who recently returned from a wish trip. And she said that they got on the airplane. They sat down, were about to take off to go to this tropical, beautiful island. And she said she looked at her kids and she said to herself, "This is the first time I've seen all of my children smiling since the diagnosis." And her son had been diagnosed 2 years prior. So this is the first time I've seen them all smile together in 24 months. And again, it's about more than the wish. It's the experience and that one memory that is going to hopefully boost that family for years to come.
No, 100%. 100%. That is so powerful. And I want to jump back to what you said before, Daniel, about part of the treatment process. How is this more of recent development, do you feel like? I mean, there's a lot of science going into, hey, the way we feel about ourselves impacts how we, physically and physiologically we feel. Is that how recent is this development in terms of medical practitioners taking this into account?
Very recent. Glad you asked that. So we have seen anecdotally wishes make a physical impact in recipients. But as far as there actually being medical data and studies about wishes, that is very new. November of 2018, a pediatric neurosurgeon named Anu Patel studied 489 children who were going to receive a wish and compared them to a control group of children who would not receive a wish. The study was conducted over a multiple year period and published in the Pediatric Journal of Research recently. And what he found was that kids who have a wish to look forward to are more likely to stick to their treatment regimens, less likely to have unplanned emergency room visits, and that therefore the wish can improve the physical health of a child. And when you just say Remarkable. It makes sense, right? That there's this connection between mind and body and hope. And how that can impact your ability to deal with a physical challenge. Yeah. But this has been kind of the first time I would say that there's hard medical data behind that. Yeah. By no means are we claiming that we're a cure, right? No. But we're honored to be a small part of the treatment process and glad to be working with medical practitioners hand in hand to give children a really holistic treatment. Yeah,
that is phenomenal. Honestly, I'm going to have to look up that study because that is so cool. And I've seen that in Ruby's life, as she was undergoing treatment, and the thought of being able to go together as a family to somewhere that was to her very special. And honestly, the whole trip was just unforgettable, and those are things that you carry on. And you mentioned the impact of siblings and parents, and those are things that we continue to remember. That was almost 4 years ago. That'll be 4 years ago in this July. And we still reflect upon those memories, and they still conjure up those feelings of gratitude, of hope, you think of all the people that were involved to make that wish come together. And you just feel a part of something much greater. You feel like you have this support system that can help you withstand almost anything. I mean, and that to me was one of the things that really stood out was was the recognition that there are so many people that we see and that we don't see that are willing to help and in a moment's notice.
Yeah. And an incredible part of your story is the way that you and your family and companies have been able to engage with Make-A-Wish to pay it forward as well. And that's meant a lot to us.
No, it's been so fun. I mean, it really is. And that's what I love about this and why I'm so excited about this particular podcast is because we're talking about getting involved in these great causes, So this is sometimes called cause marketing. It's sometimes called joint marketing. How would you define this, Daniel? And let's talk about that. What is it?
Yeah, the basic Google definition. If you Google this right now, most likely you're going to see cause marketing defined as a partnership between a not-for-profit organization and a for-profit organization that entwines both of their missions and their brands for a good cause. And then kind of a caveat to that is that most often a cause marketing partnership includes some type of sales process by the for-profit that triggers a donation to the nonprofit. So we see these really commonly, probably every day. You go to a restaurant or a store that will say, "Hey, 1% of your purchase is going to the local children's hospital or the food bank, whatever it may be." And this has become something that's fairly popular. But there's a lot of research out there about the consumer impact that this has and how it can really build a brand.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, Daniel. What is it? What is the research telling us about this?
Well, so first off, we all understand we live in an incredibly business environment. It is so difficult to grab the attention of a consumer. So the question becomes, when we're marketing, how do we differentiate? And so at Make-A-Wish, we offer our brand as a way to be the factor that allows a company to stand out. And so we point to a lot of different research, from whether it be the Harris Trends poll or even internal studies that we've done. But overall, a conservative estimate is that if you choose two consumers, they're deciding to buy a product or a service from an organization, from a business, and they know that business supports the community, and they're choosing between that business and another business, they will go with the business that they know supports the community. But it's important that that business is partnering with an organization that has a brand that's well known and respected. Yeah. So Make-A-Wish used an objective marketing consulting agency last spring to look at the impact of our cause marketing campaigns. And this external company looked at Cinemark movie theaters and polled their customers and asked their customers if they're going to first off, what process do they go through when they're trying to decide what theater to go to? And usually it's things like location,
convenience.
You all have the same movie, so it's hard to differentiate. But then they asked, would it make a difference if you knew that a portion of your ticket purchase supported Make-A-Wish? And 90% of them said that would change the purchase decision that they make if they knew it was supporting Make-A-Wish or an organization that they're familiar with, right? And there's some national brands out there that as soon as you say it, the consumer knows who it is, they have an emotional connection to it, they respect it, they trust it.
Yeah, that is powerful. I mean, because like you said, we're all trying to vie for this slice of the pie, so to speak, and there's so many things that are really calling for our attention. So what is it that can enable you to stand head and shoulders above the competition and really make it so that you are that clear choice? And it sounds, cause marketing is a fantastic way to do that.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen some companies take cause marketing to the next level, where and this has happened over the last decade. Probably a lot of listeners are familiar with Tom Shoes.
Yep.
You watched a commercial about Tom Shoes. You didn't know what you were selling until they were selling until the last 5 seconds of the shoes. A local organization here in Utah is Cotopaxi. Right? They sell gear and product. You point to a coat that you have right now. I don't know if I knew what Cotopaxi sold until probably 3 months after I heard about the organization. They came out while I was in college, and I thought they were an event planning like service club or something, because I just knew I had friends doing all these service activities through some app on their phone called Cotopaxi. And then it was like, oh, by the way, they sell some pretty sweet product too, right? So these are organizations that really understand I can gain the trust of the consumers I'm trying to get to through these really heartfelt personal touches that impact them and their community.
Yeah. And that is so cool. Those are great examples because, like you said, they've taken that to a whole nother dimension, because it's not just a start, 9-month campaign where you're focused on doing good for 9 months, but it's really fully integrated into the mission of that company. I loved what you said with that definition of cause marketing, where those two missions intertwine. They essentially become one mission, where they can help each other out and help draw more attention one to the other and do more good in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully the charitable partner on that side of this synergistic relationship is doing everything they can to promote the for-profit brand as well. And that's when I think you really see the missions intertwine in a full partnership form.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us, Daniel, a little bit about so we've talked about what cause marketing is. Let's get into what are some of the benefits that could result from the proper relationship between a nonprofit organization like Make-A-Wish and a for-profit organization. What are some of the additional benefits? We talked a little bit about the exposure, and especially when it comes to clients, patients, customers, helping them choose you over someone else. But what are some of the other benefits that you could expect? Yeah.
So maybe narrowing down even more specific than exposure or positive PR is there's nothing wrong with someone who's considering doing a cause marketing campaign listing the goal, I want to increase sales. And maybe getting even more narrow and saying, I want to increase sales during this time period for this specific product or this specific service, and want to explore doing that through a cause marketing campaign. So that's probably the most common objective that we see beyond the altruistic goal of supporting one's community.
Well, and that's interesting too, because I think a lot of people when they start to hear about partnering with a nonprofit organization, they see that as a give back moment where they're not necessarily going to receive much in return as far as on the bottom line of their company, profitability, revenue, that sort of thing. They see it as it's just a good way to give, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a kind of maybe I'll say an ancillary benefit that goes along that accompanies cause marketing campaigns is it really excites employees.
Yes.
Right. So now we're holding a company meeting, not about our general benchmarks or P&L statements. It's about, hey, have you heard about this organization we're supporting now? Here's our goals. And our goal is to increase revenue, but it's also, this is the impact we can make for the organization. We can provide this amount of meals. We can provide this amount of surgeries, this amount of wishes and here's the actual population that we'll be serving. And so what we found is it can really unite. A cause marketing campaign can unite your employee force or a sales team. We worked with one group. We held a cause marketing campaign, and they worked the campaign goals into the actual metrics, bonus-induced metrics into their sales organization. It was a tremendous success, and the organization felt like they had greater employee buy-in, suffered decreased employee turnover, and overall that it enhanced their workplace culture.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that, and that's so cool. I've seen that too with some of the clients that I've worked with Make-A-Wish. We've seen that as well, where you get that component of the team involved, and that's what's so cool is that they really start to, for lack of a better term, they really embrace that, when given the chance, especially if they're the ones to decide what organization that they want to partner with, I've seen that when we decided to partner with Make-A-Wish, for example, with one of our local clients, and we've done it on 2 different occasions. We did one with a local orthodontist a couple of years ago, and then one with some of the general dentist practices that I work with here locally. And And just the team buy-in and how excited they were to meet and talk about it. We did a tour at the Make-A-Wish building and really shared the story of Make-A-Wish and the mission of Make-A-Wish. And you get to see the impact that your efforts, help contribute to. It's so powerful. It really connects you to something much greater than a sales goal.
Yeah.
Or, it connects you to all these people that you feel like are waiting for you to help, and not that they're expecting it from you, but you have the privilege of being a part of their lives.
Absolutely. Well, and in a market in Utah, where basically we've been at full employment for a couple of years, knock on this table, amidst some a public crisis, but that is important. Right? When an employee goes home at the end of the day and says to their family or to their friend, this is what I did at my work today, and I'm really excited about it. Or when that recruiter calls the following week and says, are you interested in learning about this new opportunity? And maybe they're more inclined to say, no, I love what I'm doing right now. And so that can be kind of a secondary goal of a cause marketing campaign is to boost employee culture and specific benchmarks that maybe the ways that a company gauges how is their employee culture, and most often that being retention rates.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Well, and one thing that was cool too about this particular campaign that we did more recently was that we involved not only the team members, but we got some of their patients involved in the campaign. So it was really, so one of the things that we did was we did some fundraising activities, but we also held some of the proclamation parties where essentially Make-A-Wish will come and state, formally that, hey, your wish will be granted. And it's just a unique experience. It's completely catered to the Make-A-Wish child based on their needs and their desires and their, really what their favorite things. It could be favorite food. It could be their favorite toy or game or color or activity or anything like that. But we got the patients involved to help out with those Make-A-Wish proclamation parties, And one example I'll give was we had this child named Wade, and Wade was he was a huge Harry Potter fan, and so we made this whole thing a Harry Potter themed event just for him, and it was so phenomenal. We reached out to the patient base and said, hey, this is what we're doing. We'd love to get your feedback and your help. And we had people just step up to the plate in droves. We had one gal who was a baker, had a cupcake business and actually had been featured on, I think she won one of the Cupcake Wars seasons, and so I need to go look her up. And
she probably has to go to the dentist pretty often.
I know. Great referral source. Yeah. But she comes up and she delivers these cupcakes. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, you'll get this, but they're the sorting hat cupcakes. And so they've got this old looking hat on the top that plays into the Harry Potter books. And inside, they look just like the hat. It's incredible the detail that she put into these. But when you take a bite into the cupcake, it determines which house that you go into. So you go into Gryffindor, you go into Slytherin. If it's green, you go into Slytherin, and it just was so well thought out. But it was so neat that she took all this time and effort to do that for this particular child, and you just felt like everyone was coming together to help and support this family. And the emotion from that night was palpable. It was just so strong, and it continues, and that's what's so cool about these things is that they endure long after that event, long after they take they get their wish granted, but it remains for years and years and years. It really doesn't ever go away. And that's what's so cool about this.
Yeah, this specific event you're talking about, it was almost the pinnacle of what a cause marketing campaign is supposed to be, and that was complete engagement from the employees, dedication and resources provided by the brand, and great exposure for the brand. And then kind of unprecedented engagement from your clients. It was because I know that they'd had opportunities to donate the campaign, and that's one thing. Yes. But then for them to provide and take their time to essentially become quasi-volunteers for you, right? Yeah. Is that to me is the definition of a true synergistic campaign that is hopefully accomplishing everyone's goals. Yeah. The brands, the nonprofits, and then now you're bringing in really unique client experience and employee experience. And Maybe I just add that. So I've mentioned that client acquisition is important. Employee experience is a benefit of cause marketing. But enhancing current customer experience, a great way to do that is through a cause marketing campaign. And there's a lot of different ways to introduce opportunities for your customers to engage, but just provide them with a way to interact with one's brand that they can't do anywhere else. Right. And that's just what you described for this woman. I can't imagine she ever goes anywhere but Stonehaven Dental for the services that she needs if she's already willing to engage to that level as a volunteer for your event.
Absolutely. And there were so many other examples of that too. I'll just share one other one real quick. Otherwise I'll be here forever. But there was actually a younger girl. She was probably, she couldn't have been more than 12, but she was a patient and had learned this Harry Potter dance, and so we're at the park, we had it at the park, and she, got up all her nerves. She learned this dance, and she had her mom drive her there and play on her phone, I think, broadcast, had a little Bluetooth speaker, and she performed this whole dance in front of that whole family, all the volunteers, and she was such a champ, she was so excited to do that, and I just thought, man, what a transformational experience! What something that she will never forget. That will bring so many benefits and blessings to her life because she chose to do that, and certainly to the family that was there, everyone that was involved, received similar benefits. But just the fact that she was able to do that is going to set a precedent for her life, I think. And she'll anyway reap dividends for that.
Yeah,
in the future.
I should clarify something about your campaign and cause marketing in general. Is that this is the experience that you're relaying? This occurred through really sincere and authentic intentions. It's not as if you came to me and said, "Hey, here's our straight up. Here's our 3 business goals that we had. Yeah. You make it happen. Make-A-Wish." These the positive business were business outcomes were consequences of the authenticity and sincerity of your campaign. So being sincere in approaching the cause marketing campaign is really important.
Yeah. Well, and it was cool too because we had some team members that we had a mom who had a daughter that had been through Make-A-Wish as well years ago, and a sister that had also experienced Make-A-Wish as well. We talked about the impact on a sibling and on parents, and we had both of them get on a video. We actually recorded a video for that particular office to share with their patients, and it was really raw and emotional. Yeah, and you could you felt like you were there with them, and how difficult that must have been. Obviously for that slice of time, you can't fully feel that weight, but and I think that made a huge difference, like you were saying, just being authentic. And I think showing them, being vulnerable in that time, showing them this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is why we chose Make-A-Wish, and this is why we need your help. And when you come from that place of, like you said, sincerity and authenticity and certainly vulnerability, if you've been there before, then it resonates with people. It shows that you are a real live human being that goes through these same experiences that they go through on a daily basis. They have these same struggles. Yeah. And sometimes maybe not to a greater degree, but they are humans. It's not just this nameless corporation anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I didn't know that you made and distributed those videos. Hearing you say that, I am not surprised that you had the success and participation in your campaign that you did, because that's what it's all about. That's the why factor behind. And listening to you say that, I want to meet these people. I want to hear those stories. I want to see those videos cool. to be inspired. So I'm glad that you shared that.
Yeah. Oh, it was fun, And again, it takes a little courage to do that, to be vulnerable, but people respect that. We need more of that in the world today. And that's what's so cool about these campaigns is a lot of people too, and I'll say this from experience, before we had our daughter Ruby, before she was diagnosed with cancer, cancer wasn't something on my radar. And I can say that, and it pains me a little bit to say that, to be totally honest. But I turned a blind eye for the most part. I didn't have any close relationships with people who had cancer. I chose kind of to distance myself from those situations, and it has changed me forever. And I think some people that are listening to this might have those same inclinations where they might feel like, that's a little heavy. There's no way I could get involved in that or do that. But if you can open yourself up to that concept, and if you know someone that's going through that, you don't know what to say. Nobody knows what to say, but that's not what's matter. That's not what is important. What's important is that you reach out and show that you're there for them. You don't have to say the right words. There's no magic words to say, but just showing that you are demonstrating that you want to be there in any way possible. It goes a long way. So let's talk a little bit, Daniel, about what are some of the specific things that people can do in a campaign with someone like Make-A-Wish or with another partner.
Yeah, I think number one is within the organization, the for-profit component of this dual relationship is everyone needs to be bought in at the senior leadership level. We've in our experience, we've done a lot of cause marketing campaigns, a lot of successful ones and a fair amount of unsuccessful ones. A commonality with successful campaigns is that the decision makers within the organization are completely bought in, not just giving approval, but they're spending maybe their time and some of their time and resources to make it successful as well. And then once an organization has decided that this is a route they want to explore, determine what are some actionable, some measurable outcomes that we want to see from this. Maybe they're qualitative, maybe they're quantitative. And kind of take a poll of the organization if you can. What are some of the causes that we care about? Are there causes with missions that are aligned with ours already, that are already out there? Who maybe are serving a population that we would benefit from educating about what we do as an organization as well. And then from there, I think the next step is just starting to reach out to organizations and looking for someone who wants to be a true partner, is well respected, and then their mission will speak to who either your consumer currently is or who you want your consumer to be.
Awesome. Well, those are great steps right there, and I would fully agree with what you said. Working with clients, I mean, the clients that I've worked with on Make-A-Wish campaigns have you have to have the buy-in. I'm going to go back to that first one that you mentioned. You need to have those leaders step up and really show that they care about what we're doing, and that's going to set the tone for everyone else. We had some great success. Well, one of the other clients that we did a couple of years ago, Dr. Cook, who's an orthodontist here locally, got him involved, and it was so neat to see the trickle down effect with his office. And they weren't as involved like some of these other offices were that we recently, some of them on the more recent campaigns, but just to see him personally be there for the proclamation party. He was the one who actually, read the scroll, and he had prepared some other notes, and it's so amazing because you really don't meet these people until that day. Mm-hmm. You read their profile a little bit, but what's neat is that you can forge a deep, substantial relationship without ever having to meet someone. And then when you get there, it changes everything, And so when Dr. Cook got up there, he read the proclamation from Make-A-Wish announcing that his wish was going to be granted. And he shared a few other words too. And he just got so emotional, and we all got so emotional. I mean, we were all there just, it's dead silent, not a dry eye in the room. And that was all because of his sincerity, of Dr. Cook's sincerity, that he had taken the time to really get to know Mateo as much as he could, of course, mm-hmm. and understand what that might be like. Put himself in possibly his parents' shoes, or maybe what Mateo's thinking about at this time, And so, and I remember too thinking back on Ruby, my daughter's proclamation party, and there was a local bank that got involved to sponsor that particular party, and the branch manager and his wife and family got involved heavily. The wife had sewn together these backpacks, matching backpacks for our 3 girls. We had 3 girls at the time, and they're this beautiful theme and everything like that. And when they spoke, it was, again, very emotional. They had felt that connection with Ruby. When they read her story, they knew that they wanted to be a part of that. They knew they wanted to contribute any way they could. And we felt that authenticity, the sincerity, and just their desire to be there for us, and where else can you get that type of relationship? There's people that we walk around and that we know we've talked to for decades, and we don't have that type of relationship. But how can you? I mean, it's amazing that can come about in literally, a week or a couple. You haven't even spent any time with them before, and that can forge this relationship that you will never forget. So, very, very powerful. But I love. Sorry, that was a total tangent. But definitely buy in at that top level. And then I also love what you said. Start looking at what causes that you're naturally passionate about or that may already align with your mission. Mm-hmm. That could be an easy way to do this. You do not have to sit down and close your business for weeks on end to try and determine this mission. You can be as simple as, hey, they're already doing what we could do. We can contribute to that in a helpful way. Let's team up. Yeah, and we've had clients do that, and it's worked tremendously well.
Absolutely, and it's easier for the nonprofit maybe to deliver on their end of the partnership as well. If you as the for-profit entity can go in and say, hey, here we actually already have an idea. Here's what we can offer. Yeah. And maybe here's what we're asking from you as well. I think there's, as with any business sector, there's a wide range of nonprofits, and there's those that are executing really sophisticated cause marketing campaigns, and then there's some that aren't even familiar with the term. Yeah, right. And that's not a dig. It's just like any business, right? We have a large scale in the industry from size and capacity to execute on these types of things. So understanding what your own goals are really important. Something else that I'd add is to pick a point person or a few people within your organization that are going to be the contacts to the nonprofit. Yes. And they're your executors within your organization, right? So you had the coordination level where you filmed a video with your campaign and you distributed that video, right? So we'll run into groups where maybe we create a marketing template for them, but then it never gets distributed, or it's an email, one of 20 emails that an employee is going to receive in their inbox within an informational update from their boss or whatever it may be. Right. Your marketing internally to promote the campaign and show that this was important, that the Make-A-Wish initiative was important, was done very well. And that was because we had you as our contact. You were really clear in what expectations were. We were able to provide you with some marketing materials and information about Make-A-Wish to maybe strengthen that why factor even more. And then you disseminated that information in a way that it was received very well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. It was just a fun campaign to be a part of. It's always fun with Make-A-Wish. Honestly, it's so cool.
It's fun, and it doesn't have to be difficult, right? Anyone listening to this is thinking, I have so much on my plate already. Yes. And that's when I say true partnership. That's where hopefully the nonprofit comes in and they kind of have an off-the-shelf system, which they can introduce to you and provide their expertise in having managed these types of campaigns before and say, hey, this doesn't have to be too difficult. We're not asking for a full-time employee. Maybe it's someone who spends a few hours a week working on this, but we can do a lot of the heavy lifting, we being the nonprofit side of that relationship.
Yeah, such a good point. Such a good point to remember that it does not have to require a massive amount of man hours or anything like that or resources. Like you said, the true partner, like Make-A-Wish, has so many different options for you and your business, as do some other partners out there. Just go to them and say, we need your help, and they've been doing this for a long time, trust what they do, and it'll work out really well in the long term. We've already iterated so many different benefits from all the brand awareness, the retention of existing patients and clients, building and nurturing and strengthening those relationships that you already have. Even with vendor partners, that's something we didn't touch on, but that's that was also something that we incorporated into our campaign, was getting our vendor partners involved. And so often a lot of them donated to those campaigns, whether monetarily or just through services for those proclamation parties. But that's an easy way to get them involved and to, again, strengthen those relationships. But then also internally, think about your team, think about the retention of your employees, think about building into your mission a greater why, and executing on that why. So there are just honestly so many different benefits that come from a cause marketing campaign that's done right and with the right partner. Anything else that you would add, Daniel, before we kind of sign off here? Is there anything that we may have missed?
Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Obviously, I'm really passionate about it. I think that cause marketing and integrating charitable work into a business's business plan makes a lot of sense on so many levels, from impacting the community to impacting your employees to also improving the bottom line. And that's a fantastic consequence. Not greedy,
Yep.
Doesn't ruin the altruism. It's just a fantastic consequence of doing business right. So thanks for having me, giving me an opportunity to talk about something I'm passionate about.
You bet. Thanks for coming. And that was well put, by the way. That was a great way to finish. Last question will be, so if people are interested in getting in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? Or if they're interested in learning about Make-A-Wish, how can they do that?
Yeah. Everything about Make-A-Wish, anything that a person could want to know is available on our website at utah.wish.org. You can contact us through there. Our phone number is on our website, 801-262-9474. Glad to answer any questions that individuals have. We provide tours to basically anyone to our facility, and always open for conversation.
Awesome. Well, that's Daniel Dudley of Make-A-Wish Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us today, and make it a great week.
Mark, you're a good man. I will.
Hey, you guys, Mark here. And real quick, I have a personal request to ask of you. Right now, I am working with the Make-A-Wish Foundation to help raise money for kids, just like my daughter Ruby, that are battling cancer and other critical illnesses. It's truly amazing what these wishes from Make-A-Wish can do. I look back at the family trip that we went on down to Disney World when Ruby's outlook did not look very good, and just the sheer amount of joy and hope and all the memories are something that we will never, ever forget. And that is all thanks to everyday people and local businesses like yourselves that willingly donate to help grant wishes to kids in need. So I've created a personal Make-A-Wish fundraising page, and I'm asking for your help in donating to this incredible cause. I've created a link in the show notes of this episode where you can make a donation. And my goal is to raise $1,000 over the next few weeks, which will go directly towards granting another wish. So if you can, go to the show notes for this episode, click on the link, and make a donation. It does not matter the amount at all. If you can make a donation, any amount is great. Not only will this go to help a struggling child in need, but it also just makes you feel good. Thank you.
Did you enjoy this episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast? Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And for more proven marketing strategies to grow your practice, visit practicerocket.net.